Hello, and welcome to the Exponential Growth Podcast, powered by Analyst Investors. I'm your host, David Olivencia, co-founder of Analyst Investors, and a passionate advocate for leveraging innovation and technology to drive success. Let's get started. This is Exponential Growth. All right, everyone. Well, hey, welcome to what will be a very exciting edition of the Exponential Growth Podcast. Here today with me is an amazing friend, leader I've known almost 30 years through our time at Accenture, the president and founder of Executive Path, Fernando Rosario. Fernando, welcome. Great to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, David. Like you said, we've been friends, colleagues. We've been in different efforts for almost 30 years. So I love the way that it's come full circle. Seeing your path, your journey, and you seeing mine, and supporting each other. So thank you very much for having me on the show.
Great to have you. And I want to give a shout out and gratitude to Salvi Media, the host and sponsor of the podcast, or the founding sponsor of this podcast. They are the premier executive content agency dedicated to crafting exceptional content and strategies that elevate companies and brands of executives. They've created the Emmy Award-winning CEO series that has in-depth interviews with CEOs showcasing their personal journeys and their business expertise. The CEO series can be found on Cheddar, a part of also on Entrepreneur Magazine and Reach TV. So a huge thank you to our podcast sponsor, Salvi Media. So reach out to them if you want any of those services. And also if you want to record in their studios live in Chicago, they're also offering that up. So reach out to them. So thank you, Salvi Media. All right. Let's jump in. Let's jump in, Fernando. We're going to have some fun. So Fernando, let's start out Exponential Growth Podcast. Well, we want to anchor it with, let's just talk about you and a little bit of your background, your story. I know most of it, and probably not all of it, but please share with us your story.
Absolutely, thank you, David. And first of all, let me again thank you for that shout out, because if you haven't watched the CEO series, I mean, that is a fantastic thing to watch. Near and dear to my heart, getting exposure to the executives and the visibility. So David, just a quick context of my life or my journey here real quick. So number one, I am from a small town in Puerto Rico called Aguadilla. Made my way over to engineering school at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. I am, and I like to tell this joke, I'm an electrical engineer who is absolutely terrified of electricity, and that is a fact. I'm terrified of electricity. After going to the Purdue electrical engineering, I made my way over to California with, at the time, Anderson Consulting, nowadays Accenture. Spent quite a bit of time with them, about 21 years, working in the fintech, financial services, technology industries. Then I decided to roll the dice and open up my own technology company, which I did here in Coral Gables, Florida. Ran that for about 3-4 years. Then I sold it to another enterprise in Latin America. And over the last 5-6 years, I've been spending quite a bit of time in Latin America, traveling Ecuador, Argentina, Mexico, Colombia. But throughout that time, in parallel, I would say for the last 14-15 years, I've been doing a lot of coaching, a lot of leadership development, facilitations, programs, working with Fortune 500 companies. And that is truly my passion. But having said that, you know me, and you and I go way back. I am a technology geek. I'm a nerd. I love technology. So in my, let's call it spare time, I do a lot of software development and application development on my side. So that's a bit of my story. Oh, and before I forget, I'm an adrenaline junkie. So love anything with speed, including skydiving or motorcycles or kite surfing, things that get your heart pumped. So I think I gave you the 30-second Fernando spiel.
Wow, there's a lot to double click in there. So, the one thing I want is so you're Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, right? West side of the island. And then you go to Purdue. By the way, my son is graduating from Purdue. Spent a lot of time at Purdue. So you go
Boilers.
Well, yeah, go Boilers. So tell me about the experience and your first winter, by the way. Uh, I think it might have been your first winter. I don't know. You tell me.
It was, and David, you're absolutely right. So let's put things into context real quick. So right, no internet at the time. I'm not going to tell you my age, but you know, in the early 90s, no internet, no real way to find out, you know, what's going on. Why Purdue? Well, guess what? My decision was pretty simple. I had a friend and a couple of friends that had attended Purdue. They said, "Hey, it's a fantastic school. Why don't you just come over?" And I wanted a change. I wanted to explore, you know, of course, learn English in a better way, get in a different environment. And you know, I applied to your typical schools, and I decided on Purdue because it was a good standing when it came to engineering. At the time, wasn't really sure if it was going to be electrical engineer or what type of engineering, but I knew that my heart was set on engineering. So I rolled the dice and I said, you know what, you know, spoke with my parents, my brothers, should I do this? And they all said, well, knowing my personality, they're all saying, just go for it, just jump, just go and tell us. And that first experience, David, I have to tell you, all I knew about snow was the white Christmas on TV. Nobody talked to me about the slush and you know, the post that season. So it was a grueling season for me. I have to say, grueling winter. I think I looked like George Costanza from Seinfeld with the Gore-Tex jacket. You know, anything that could keep me warm. So anyway, I appreciated very much the tunnels and how to keep myself outside of the cold winter. It was a surprise.
Oh no, well, that's great. And you know, look, it builds character, right? You get out, you get exposed, you learn something, you learn the cold weather, the different cultures. I mean, college is cool from that. And then you kick off your career at Accenture or Anderson Consulting at the time. Amazing thing. You go in the technology industry and do everything that you chatted on. So the Exponential Growth Podcast, we want to talk about trends, right? So there's a lot of amazing trends. You've seen trends in Latin America, in software, in the businesses. You coach many of these Fortune 500 senior executives. You're seeing trends that are keeping them up. What do you see right now are just some big things that are from a trends perspective, tech driven mainly, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, that are keeping them up?
So David, first of all, love the title of the podcast, right? Exponential growth. I'm a big believer when I do coaching, when I work with different executives, it's about leapfrogging. It's about exponential growth. It's about recognizing patterns so we can determine where do we need to be when that trend finally gets there. Having said that, I think depending on what we talk about, right, whether it's a US, Europe, Latin America, we're all at different stages in the trends, right? So, you know, security, huge thing everywhere, but I would say in Latin America, it's taken a big, you know, front and center component. Of course, I would be remiss if I don't mention AI. But what about AI? If you ask me, you know, there's all kinds of things, robotics, and there's, you know, the analytics component and whatnot. I am particularly interested, and that's what I'm keeping an eye on when it's about investing to software development, that productivity related to AI, and you know, not going to name all the tools and whatnot, but to me, it has done such a great shift from going from taking hours, months, if not years of writing an application to minutes, without errors, higher quality, faster, better performing, more secure. So if you ask me, when it comes to the fintech area, a couple of things that I believe are trends that are going to change. So number one is, you know, coreless banking, for example. I'm looking into that. You know, making sure that we look into microtransactions and how AI can actually enable them a lot faster. Payments that are being disrupted. So I know we know the typical players, but I do believe there's still space for payments disruptions. So those are some of the trends that I'm looking into. Of course, goes without saying, there is robotics, there is biotechnology, there's all kinds of things out there. But personally, those are the ones that I'm keeping my eyes on.
Well, those are some big ones. You know, I think the one you just want to double click on is this software and software development, right? And then you're right, it would take, you know, you'd have humans doing it and take all this up. Then some tooling got better over the years, and now it's kind of exploded exponentially where you're coding then you have these kind of coding agents, and then you're kind of code. Well, if you're able to create one virtual agent, you can create two. And if you can create two, you can create 200. And then the amount of innovation, the amount of code, and the amount of things that can happen and experiment, and the costs go way down, right? You know, we worked at Accenture, right? You'd hire hundreds and hundreds, hundreds of people to do it, right? To code it. And then now the price of software development
And the
is
cost goes down and the quality is superb, right? If you think about it, I mean, again, there are still some things that have to be tweaked. But when you
yeah,
talk quality, which one of the main drivers behind any development effort, right? It takes a lot of people, a lot of testing. The fact that now you can do that in minutes, if not seconds, that you can troubleshoot, that you can identify, that you can pinpoint where the problem is. Think about the good old days, David, right? We had individuals that could spend a month trying to pinpoint one problem. Well, in the code that is. Now you can do
yeah,
that easily. And with all the technologies that are stacking up, you can ensure that it's good quality performance, the security component is taken care of, which you and I know, right? Security many a times was a last thought. It was once the product is out, let's figure out how do we make it secure. See, that
yeah,
has been pushed to the early days, which I
right.
love. So again,
It's
that's
like
what
right in there. They're like right when you're creating it, you're creating the security as part of it, right?
day
Yeah.
one, day one.
So amazing trends. Now, if we think about like exponential leadership, right? So exponential growth as it relates to leaders, and you got a lot of experience here. Want to double click a little bit more there. So you work with a lot of leaders. What in this time, right? A lot of major changes are going on. AI is disrupting. You got workforce that are robots. You got all kinds of different things going on. How should our listeners be, from your point of view, be thinking about leading in these times, or what are some tips that you could give them?
I think, in my opinion, David, I think it's very important that we don't use these buzzwords, for just the buzzwords that they are. I listen to a lot of leaders that cannot wait to mention the term artificial intelligence, right? Just because it's the buzzword. And when you start double clicking, when you start digging down a bit deeper, you realize they don't even understand what's happening. What do they need to be watching out for? Which could be very dangerous from a leading perspective. You may go full charge ahead with AI efforts, not knowing that it's going to be more costly for you because you don't understand it. So tip number one is, I think, from a leadership perspective, is really understanding what it means. It's not going to hurt to take a basic class on what all of these buzzwords are, right? So LLM and analytics and the data and artificial intelligence and all the tools that are coming out. I just see a lot of individuals, and I'll give you an example. I was having a conversation the other day, and one of my clients said, we're going to deploy X tool. I don't know if I can say right, Copilot from Microsoft across the board. And I said, well, do they even know how to use it? Do they even know what the benefits it's behind it? And they're like, not really, but we're already paying for the license, so might as well just deploy it. And I'm thinking, I can only imagine, right? The same way that you can reduce cost and increase productivity, you can also increase errors. You can also increase problems
Yeah,
to the pipeline. And I'm thinking, without a clear strategy from a leading perspective, you got to have a clear strategy. And by the way, there's plenty of information and individuals that you can lean on. Right. I would pick up the phone and call you. Hey, David, have you heard X, Y, and Z? Can you point me in the right
yeah,
direction? I'm sure that if you don't know the answer, you can point me to or connect me to the right individuals. From a leadership perspective, I think it's the time to ensure that you're leveraging your network, that you're leveraging your strategic relationships, and that you're really clear on what is it that you're trying to accomplish with whatever trend you're going after. If it's AI, if it's analytics, if it whatever it is, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? And surround yourselves with a couple of individuals that actually know what's happening.
mm.
That's my first word of advice.
Yeah. No, and that's a good one. And then if you take that advice, right, and then also the many years, the global experiences that you've had, the leadership, the coaching wisdom that you've imparted, you've now packaged that and are packaging that into a book.
I am.
And if you could share with us kind of what, the journey, the thoughts, well, why the book, what's the book about, and what you're looking to accomplish by writing this book.
And thank you for the shout out as well, David. So yes, the book is coming out in the fall of 2025, so a couple of months from now. The title is Amplifiers: Scaling Success Beyond Yourself. And over the years, I've been privileged and honored to work with many different executives, directors, VPs, C-level individuals in Fortune 500 companies, as well as entrepreneurs and startups. And the feedback that I've received is, Fernando, number one, that you seem to be very practical. So it's not just the theory behind it and the smokes and mirrors, or you seem to be very practical in your advice. It would be good to start putting together a series. And I thought about that for a while. Could it be a podcast? Could it be a newsletter? A book? I got to tell you, and I look after you, David, because I'm very impressed with networking excellence, is I put that away for years of writing the book. And I've run programs that last anywhere from a day to 9-10 months. And I keep thinking I have the material. I just need to find the time and welcome your advice to sit down, write it, and move forward with it. So that's the genesis of the book. It's bits of information that I've collected over the years. And one theme was very clear to me, which was, none of us can do this alone, right? None of us are reaching the best days of our career alone. Whether it's a word of encouragement, whether it's someone cheerleading for you, whether it's someone sponsoring you or mentoring you or coaching you, someone just lending an ear or maybe exchanging ideas. And that's sort of the genesis again of Amplifiers, which is, amplifiers are individuals in your life, in your journey, in your careers that do so much more than give you advice. They do so much more than just sponsoring you. They are, and I compare this, David, you're gonna laugh. I compare this to a caddy in the game of golf. By the way, I don't play golf, but in the game of golf, people think that caddies are there just to carry the players' golf clubs, when in fact they know more about the weather, the course, the player style. They provide not only advice, but they are a player themselves. They can be a friend, they can be a cheerleader. And amplifiers, to me, is someone similar to, who are your caddies in life and your career journey? Who's actually removing obstacles, opening doors that you don't even know exist? Because it's very simple for me to pick up the phone and call you, David, and say, hey, can you help me with X or Y? You know what's very difficult? For somebody else to point out for me, there's 3 opportunities that you're missing out. There is a position that you should be looking into. And that's what I'm calling amplifiers. So coming up in the fall 2025, all kinds of coaching advice, mentoring advice, sponsoring, and you know me, David, with experience within the industries that I've worked with in the past.
Well, there's some great ones there. And, when I think about whether it's my career or just kind of exponential growth, right?
Oh my God.
You need amplifiers along the way, right? If you don't have amplifiers, you're living you're doing it. You have a linear career and you have
Exactly.
linear results, right? It's amplifiers along the way. It's people, it's learning, it's experiences, it's companies you work for, it's your mindset, right? There's lots more, which is why everybody should read the book when it comes out. But if you want to ride that exponential curve, you're going to need amplifiers, right? So I so much look forward, to the book coming out, supporting it, reading
And I
it,
would say,
learning from it, helping continue to amplify me. Look, I'm still learning and growing as well, right?
and I love it, David. And you said something that is very keen to me and interesting, right? Which is, it's got to be for individuals that do have aspirations, that they have goals, that they want that exponential growth. And I got to tell you, in my line of business, David, some individuals don't want that, right? They just want that, the linear results and the steady and whatnot. But the bulk of the individuals that I work with, the individuals that you included, right? We are looking for exponential growth. We are looking to leapfrog. We're looking to, hey, listen, you've already hit that obstacle. Help me avoid it and help me get to the next one. And then we can keep bouncing off each other so we can have that exponential growth, which is what I'm aiming for. I am a sucker for, having very ambitious goals. And with the clients that I work with, that's the main objective. Let's think big. Anyone can think small. Let's think big. And if you ask the right question to your brain, it will figure out a way to make it happen. It's as simple as that.
It is, that is so true, so true, and it is that's why I mentioned the mindset too, and it's really
Mindset.
really important, really important. So now let's talk about the other part of this exponential growth is investing, right? So we touched on trends, we touched on a bit of leadership in your book. Now let's investing, right? So when you think about investing, you got all these curves out that are going out there, and just your general philosophy investing. You've got some fintech, you've got a lot of global experience, especially in Latin America and Europe. What's your thoughts of in these times we're in? How should one think about investing?
Absolutely. My philosophy, David, number one is I like to keep myself in the industries that I understand. Not that I understanding what the industry is bringing forward, who the players are, where do they fit, right? If you take, for example, the financial services industry, those are two simple words, but when you peel that onion, right, there is thousands of places that investment can take place, right? Everything from credit to loan management to software development and tools, fintech, the payments component. I mean, we can go on and on. Risk management. There is 1,000 different topics. So myself, I like to stay when it comes to my investments, areas that I actually understand. Why? So I can compare, contrast, see where it's going. So that's number one. In my particular scenario, love everything related to fintech, payments, the technology behind it, and of course that includes AI. I just don't want to make this into an AI conversation because I know you've had plenty of those. AI product management. What are the new products that are coming out? And how are they disrupting the industry? That's what I like to keep myself focused on. Number two is I like, from a philosophy perspective, embed myself into sources of information and research that are related to those topics. So technology, financial services, fintech, product development. I would say that's my sweet spot. Of course, I always pick to the side when it comes to retail. I love the security component. My brother and good friends are very into security, so I love to spend conversations with them, understanding what's the thought leadership behind what's coming about. So security and retail are two I can't say that I'm an expert on, but I keep my eye on them. So that's kind of my philosophy when it comes. I would consider myself a bit more of a conservative when it comes to investing. My risk tolerance is not on the way out there, but I do keep a bit of a bucket of money to gamble every once in a while. It is
And
a
those are, look, I mean, that's a spectrum, right? On one side, you got high risk, high return. The other side, low risk, low return, right? You gotta choose where you want to play, right? And there's
right.
and there's pros and cons of both, and there's many people who are successful across both, right? So it's that's a
Yes,
good way to look at it. Good way to look at it. Well, anything else you want to share with our, the listeners out there, Fernando?
Listen, I think in my trajectory, I have to admit that it took me a while to get into the investing world, into that ecosystem. I got to thank what you've done, David, what others have been, spearheading. Advice for the listeners out there is really, number one, understand that ecosystem, right? If they're looking into investing, if they're looking into getting their hands dirty, do a bit of research. Number one. Number two, get exposed to organizations that are out there, like Angeles Investors and others, so you can learn a bit more from where they can actually invest and learn from the individuals that are already in that mix. Number two is try not to go as broad as you can imagine, right? You can go crazy with all of the different options out there. Pick a niche, pick an area that you are familiar with, understand, and actually drives you, that you have a mindset and an attitude that says, I love to learn about X or Y. That's where I would start placing my individual investments, my individual money, because I actually understand what the swings are. So that would be the advice that I would provide the audience. Just but getting there, right? There's no excuse not to understand what the trends are. There's plenty of organizations, consulting organizations, technology monsters that will deploy industry trends every quarter. read upon that and see which ones you like, and do a bit more research so you can maintain yourself knowledgeable about those areas. That would be the high level advice that I would provide, David.
Oh, great. And then coming up, so you've got a book coming up. I know you got a ton of travel, but you look kind of what's next? What's next? The next, let's say 2, 3-ish years, 5 years for Fernando.
So you would be because I have to be buzzword compliant, right? So I am developing an AI application that is going to be more related to the coaching, career development, career advancement. So that's in the works that I'm
Okay,
pretty
cool.
happy about. And I think that's going to be a trend that is going to be very powerful. Education, at the executive level. Leveraging AI. So that's something that I'm kind of working on. Number two, I'm definitely working with a friend of ours, you a friend that you and I know very dearly, working on some projects that we're going to launch in 2025. So pay attention to that coming up soon. Again, related to the coaching, executive development, education component to it. And believe it or not, I'm working on an application that I can't say much about it, but I'm hoping that I can take it over to Angeles investors soon enough to do a presentation. And of course, the book is the hot topic on my side. I'm making sure that gets released on time and per the schedule. That's
Wow.
the plan.
That looks a lot of exciting things happening. Look, you have coaching, you got some tech and application launches, your book, and the demand. By the way, if you're listening to this, you're going to want to get Fernando booked, because once that book comes out, he's going to be booked for the year, and you're not going to get. You're going to say, "Oh, Fernando, I'd love to have you come to our company and speak." And he's going to be like, "So, oh, yeah, 2027, 2028. What do you want?" So if you want to do it, you want to do
Thank
it
you,
now.
David.
You want it like it's like investing. You want to get in early
Early.
before it takes off with exponential growth. Before it takes it off with exponential growth. But no, exciting stuff, Fernando. And then how do people keep up with you on social media?
So they can look me up at Instagram is Rosario Coaching, my last name, Rosario Coaching. They can look me up on LinkedIn, of course, Fernando Rosario. You can find me there. And those are my primary two areas where I spend my time on. So yeah, look me up. Connect always, like I said, always like to expand our respective networks with strategic relationships. And again, pay attention to the podcast. David, I'm loving the newsletter and I'm loving the podcast content. So please keep up the amazing work.
Well, it doesn't happen without great hosts and great participants like yourself, Fernando. So thanks for jumping on the pod. Continued success to all the great things you got going on, and much success, my friend. Much success to you.
Likewise, my friend. Thank you for having me. And it was a blast to be here. Again, it's a 30-year journey you and I have been on together. We've worked together. We have friends in common. And thank you for providing this exposure. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Fernando.